Hi, I'm Jordan from Kettner Creative. In this video, we're going to compare the Yamaha MG10XU audio mixing console to the Behringer Xenix Q1202 USB audio console. Now, before we compare feature to feature and spec to spec, I'm just going to let you know a couple things. One, we're not going to plug any microphone into either one of these. This is just an overall console walkthrough, and we're going to talk about a lot of the specs that are on them. For plugged in, if you want to hear how these consoles sound, we have in-depth like 10-minute videos on either console where we plug in a whole bunch of different microphones, show you how the EQ sounds, the compressor sounds, all that, so that those are more deep dive walkthroughs. This is more a feature comparison. Now, before we compare features as well, we do need to talk about price. At the time of this recording, the Yamaha is about 25% more than the Behringer in my market where I live, but we have links in the description below so you can check out current pricing where you live, and that will help you make your decision as you want to learn more about either console and find out if one is the right fit for you. Now let's just quickly take a look at the back of either console. So you can see here the Yamaha has a locking power connector and the Behringer does not. The Behringer one does wiggle around a little bit. We did have quite a few issues when we were testing with the sensitivity of this. We did figure out that you just really have to crank that power cable in, so keep that in mind. Right off the bat, I think that's a win for the Yamaha, having the locking power connector there. I don't think this is a major threat to the Behringer, but do keep in mind that you probably want to throw a piece of gaff tape around it to hold it in if this is in an install or a live event. But just really make sure that that power cable is locked in good. And then beside that, we do have the USB output on either one. Now on the Yamaha, the USB output, while we're talking about that, let's talk about the specs of it. It's 24-bit and 192K. The Behringer is 16-bit and 48K. So keep that in mind, significant quality difference there. The Behringer is more kind of CD quality, and the Yamaha is many multiples or magnitude of difference better than that. So keep that in mind, that the Yamaha has a better USB output. While we're talking about outputs, let's talk about the Behringer's stereo outputs. All the outputs on the Behringer are unbalanced, but the headphone jack does have TRS. On the Yamaha, all the outputs are balanced. That means that you can convert the 1/4 inch outputs to be XLR. You can run it at 1,000 feet or whatever the theoretical maximum of XLR is, but you also get XLR outputs that are balanced as well. And the effects send is balanced as well. The monitor outs are balanced. The headphone jack is balanced. Now, while we're talking about outputs as well, the Behringer does give you a RCA output. That's a copy of the main mix. It's wired in parallel, and the Yamaha doesn't. The Yamaha gives you XLR and 1/4 inch, and the Behringer gives you 1/4 inch and RCA. Next, we're going to talk about the output fader on the Behringer. They do give you a full fader, which is a nice touch, where on the Yamaha, you do just have the rotary knob. A lot of people prefer faders. You can really dial it in. It's faster to get where you're trying to go, so it's better for that reason there. Next, let's talk about the channel strips on either device. On the Yamaha, you do get these combi jacks, and you get a 26 decibel pad with it. On the Behringer, the jacks are separate, which isn't a big deal, but there is no 26 decibel pad. So that means that if you're plugging an instrument into the Yamaha, you're good to go. Plug your electric guitar in, and if you need the pad to bring the impedance down, go for it. But on the Behringer, even according to the manual, you do need to run your guitar through a DI box before coming into this to bring that impedance down to a more manageable level for the Behringer. So keep that in mind. Right there is like the first kind of hint that if you're ever going to plug a guitar into your mixer, go with the Yamaha, because the price difference is cheaper than a DI box. So right there is a big win for Yamaha if you're comparing the two and you plan on plugging instruments into it. Next, let's talk about these preamps. On the Behringer, you have a 60 decibel gain on the preamp, and on the Yamaha, you get 64 decibels a gain, so you get 4 extra decibels there. When you're comparing the noise of them, the EIN is within a point of each other, so I don't think it's worth bringing up, but for that same rough amount of noise, you get the 4 extra decibels on the Yamaha, so I think that's a big win there. Next, we're going to talk about the compressor. On the Yamaha, you do get 2 compressors, and on the Behringer, you get 4, so that's great. They both work very similar in that they both add gain while lowering the threshold. According to the diagram on the Behringer, it does seem like it has a fixed compression ratio, where the compression ratio on the Yamaha is dynamic. It slowly slides from 1:1 to 1:4 as you bring the compressor up, so keep that in mind. The EQs are very similar. It's 12K versus 10K, 2.5K on both of them for the mid, and on the low end, the Behringer is 80 Hertz and the Yamaha is 100 Hertz. Now, they both have high pass filters. The Behringer calls it a low cut. The high pass filter on the Yamaha is 80 Hertz, and the low cut on the Behringer is 75. So keep that in mind, just a little bit lower, clean up some of that mud on the Behringer, and the Yamaha is just a little bit higher. So just keep that in mind for personal preference. Next, let's talk about the effects send as we work our way down. The Yamaha is very straightforward. You just dial in the effects that you want. It comes. And then here's another huge difference. The Yamaha has the built-in effects engine, so that right there is another big win. For that 25% price, you're getting the whole effects engine with 24 effects. Super useful if you're doing live streaming, music, podcasting, and you want to integrate those effects into there. But the effects send on the Behringer basically just kicks out through here. You're intended to run it through an external effects, or you can use it as an aux channel to run to a monitor, or if you're doing a mix minus setup, you can run to a phone caller for your podcast or something like that. But if you're running it through an effects processor, then you'd bring it back through into one of these stereo inputs and then dial it in if you have reverb or something like that. Now, for the Behringer, you do get a couple really nice options with the effects send that I think are super interesting. You get a master effects send level, which is great. The Yamaha doesn't have that. It's very nice to have. Like I said, if you set up a whole mix minus, you get them all nicely dialed in relative to each other. Then you plug it into your phone for a phone caller, and then you realize the whole signal's too hot and you're in this weird position of slowly bringing them all down and needing to recalibrate. Where on the Behringer, you can just lower the whole level of the channel. That's great. You'll also get this other option on the Behringer that goes effects to control room. So what that does is it'll take your effects mix, it'll kick it over to your headphones or your control room like monitor outputs, and that will let you monitor it as you dial in your mix, and then you can click that off again if you want. The Yamaha doesn't have anything like that. So that's another big win for the Behringer there. They both have panning, which is pretty straightforward. They both have rotary level knobs. One distinct difference between them two is it's more of a syntax issue, but the Yamaha has a triangle and the Behringer has a 0, which stands for unity. So keep that in mind that they're both the same thing. They're just speaking a different language there. Next, let's talk about the stereo inputs. Now, this is where I'm going to judge the Behringer based a little bit off of my experience with it. On the Yamaha, we have 3 pairs of stereo inputs. On the Behringer, it has 4 pairs. You'd think that that would be a win for the Behringer. Now, with my honest advice about the Behringer, I've never seen a Behringer console that's more than a year old with all of its channels still working. That's why I'm comparing a 12 channel to a 10 channel, because in my experience, I've probably seen 30 analog Behringer consoles out in the wild. They just fall apart, to be perfectly honest, and you will not have all your channels working within a year. That's my experience. Maybe if you have this thing on a desk and you're babying it and everything's plugged in, but everybody that I knew, if I see these things at churches, schools, even people that have them at home studios, there's a reason I never see these things at other rental houses like ours. It's just they are not durable. When you compare that to the Yamaha, we have about 15 of these that have seen somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 events. We've never had a single hardware-related issue. We put them in a soft case and we throw them in the cable trunk and they show up every time. I don't know a single person that can say that about a Behringer analog console. I'm not talking about Behringer digital consoles. That's a completely different thing. The digital end has a completely different set of reliability ratings compared to the analog stuff. So when we're comparing the fact that this has 3 and this has 4 stereo inputs, just count on some of your channels on the Behringer dying, so you get 2 extra when we're comparing these two together. That's where I'm going with this. Now with that, the Yamaha can EQ the stereo inputs, the Behringer cannot. You can just fade or do the effects send. They do have some like impedance settings on the Behringer as well. So if you need to adjust the sensitivity, say you're doing a line level input or something like that, that is more or less sensitive, you do have a bit of a adjustment that you can make there. Now on the Yamaha with these stereo inputs, for each of them, you get an RCA alternate for 2 of them. And on the last stereo input, you get the ability to work with your USB input. So let's talk about the USB inputs on both of these. Like I was saying, the Yamaha one treats it like a channel. You can choose to turn these 2 stereo inputs off, and you can turn the USB on, and the USB would come in through this. Say you're playing a Spotify playlist, or if you're doing recording through your DAW or whatever, you can bring it back through here. And then you can choose whether or not you want that to go through your main mix or to your headphone jack or in-room monitoring. So, and then you can EQ it and add it to your effects or do whatever you're wanting to do. On the Behringer, it just comes in full volume, and you can choose where you patch it. So you can choose whether or not you want it to go to your control room, your monitors and your headphones, or if you want it to go to the main mix. Now, if you click to main mix, think about this in a live event setting. It's going to try to do you a favor by preventing a feedback loop. So if you bring it in from your computer to the main mix, you press that, it will cut the feed off from the output of this mixer back to your computer. So it's trying to prevent there being a feedback loop that goes around. So keep that in mind. If you're running it into the main mix, it will automatically cut everything off. And then both of them have 48 volts of phantom power. So they're both capable of working with condenser microphones. Okay, so how would I compare these two? Where would I use one over the other? It's really tough. To be honest, the Behringer has its place in one of 2 situations. I think the Behringer console here would be good for a DJ that's not running a ton of speakers. Just because the main outs are unbalanced, it means that you can really only run to speakers within 20 feet of you. So if you're a DJ that has a speaker left and right of your table, then you're good to go. This gives you lots of ins and out for wireless microphones, lots of stereo inputs for all your DJ gear. I think that's a really good use for it. Another good use for this, I think, is podcasting. I like the features that you get with the effects or aux send here, and the fact that you get an aux master, and you get the ability to dial in your mix using this toggle switch here, which lets you preview it on your monitors. It has lots of good inputs and outputs, but it is missing some features that I would say appeal more to live streamers or those who also want to do some home recording or want to do bigger live events. So let's switch over to the Yamaha. The Yamaha has balanced outputs, which means that you can run powered speakers indefinitely. As long as you do a powered speaker every 1,000 feet, it'll keep reamping the balanced cable and you're good to go. So that's insane. I've never been in a situation, we do so many events, but the ability to have balanced outputs of this, even for the effects end, so I can run 50 feet to a stage monitor or do something, a media feed or something like that. This gives you way more flexibility because the outputs are balanced. Next, on the input side, you have 26 decibel pad on 4 of them, so you don't need DI boxes if you're plugging instruments into this. It will bring the impedance down to a manageable level for you, and that's so much better. Also on the stereo inputs, if you're doing computer inputs or if you're doing live events like a wedding or if you're doing video streaming or something and you're bringing in a feed that just sounds not right, you do have the ability to EQ your stereo inputs, which is mega, plus you get the RCA inputs. I think that's a huge win for the Yamaha. And then let's talk about the USB input, the ability to actually set the volume, EQ it if you need to. You can patch it however you need using these 2 buttons. I think the Yamaha is much better for video streaming, home recording, live events. I would limp on the Behringer if I'm a DJ or if I'm just doing podcast recording and it's just sitting there. But I wouldn't trust this thing if I needed to put it in a bag and travel to and from events. I've seen too many of these with dead channels, they just wear out over time. But if you look at this Yamaha console, this thing's probably been to hundreds of events already. If it's anything like the average console of ours that's been to hundreds, if not thousands of events over its lifetime. And they all look and function as if they were new. We just throw them in a soft case and throw them in the cable trunk and they work day in and day out for us. Plus you get the effects on these compared to the Behringer. So I think it's pretty clear here. I think the Yamaha is a huge winner in almost everything except with how it deals with the effects end. The Yamaha is a winner. Obviously, you need to make the choice whether or not the extra money is worth it. If you're just trying to get into it and you need a cheap console, the Behringer is the choice for you. If you know that you're going to be doing this for years down the road, you want something that'll last forever, or you want something that has better resale value in case you change your mind, the Yamaha is the better choice for you. Again, if you do want to see current pricing or specs, we have links in the description below. If you have any questions about either of these consoles, please leave a question in the comment section below. And if you want to see more videos on either one of these, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.